take another one next semester. So I know there's a big game tonight. Since I'm from Los Angeles, I understand the rivalry. My aunt lives in San Francisco. So the Dodger game tonight does start at 6:37, but we can probably wrap up right around then. You're not missing anything here if we're a little late, because it's just the Giants at bat first. So just some quick background about me, and then I'll go into I guess the main topic. I grew up in San Fernando Valley and went to Van Nuys High School. I don't know if anyone's familiar with that, but UC Santa Barbara, I double majored in business, economics, communication studies. And we didn't have too many practical majors. I knew I wanted to work in business. I didn't know what that was. So I ended up in accounting, getting the accounting emphasis. I'm actually an active CPA in the state of California. And I worked at PwC in audit for about 5 years. I split my time in Los Angeles and Dallas. I ended up moving out to Dallas with PwC. And then I spent a lot of time bouncing around different types of accounting, finance positions. I've always had an itch for entrepreneurship. Right out of college, I lived at home with my parents. I saved up. I bought a condo. I rented out 2 of the rooms, lived in the other. And, this was back in 2000, 2001, 2002. Prices were shooting up. So I took out some equity. I put that into another house near Cal State Northridge, rented it to students. It was good. So when I moved out to Dallas, I sold it all, parlayed it into some properties out here. I'm telling you this because it's very much a topic that we'll come back to a little later. And it's really, I've come into gerontology through real estate. So, some of these accounting positions, it led me into trying to start my own restaurant. It was going to be an upscale karaoke restaurant. I cannot sing, so I was not trying to do this. I like to hear myself sing. But I thought it was a great idea. During the Great Recession, though, I found a great location. This team that was going to help me, they were top notch. There's a James Beard nominated chef who's going to work with me. I couldn't raise the money, so lesson 1 of fundraising. I should have had more of my own cash coming in the deal. It would have helped too if I had more experience in the restaurant industry. One thing led to another. I'm back in accounting, and I'm bored, so I started doing triathlon. Ended up owning the BFW Tri Club, and one of my members there was the CEO for Wind River Companies. He brings me on as a CFO. I closed up the Tri Club, and I just fell in love with senior living at that point. He was only there for about 8 months, and once I had my wings under me, I was able to take over for him. He left to do asset management, and actually for about a year of that, I was also the interim COO. So I didn't know what I was doing as a COO. Luckily, I had a great team, so I had a lot of questions, and they were able to fill it in. So when I left Wind River in July of 2020, I did not, I wanted to just feel more confident in my operations abilities. So that's how I enrolled in this master's at SC. It's been so fun. If anyone is here that's undergrad, whether it's gerontology or just anything else, I highly recommend never stop learning. I'm going to come back to this again later in the presentation. But I'm 20 years out of undergrad, and I just, I'm able to manage my time enough, luckily, but man, learning, I'm making myself more bulletproof because I have, I'm challenging myself with new information all the time. All right, so then, so when I left Wind River, I was trying to purchase my own properties. I ended up teaming up with my equity partner at Tozy Capital. His name is Eng, and I'm now his chief of acquisitions and asset management. He really likes senior living, and he liked my ability to underwrite. And so here I am. We have one senior living property, the Grand Royale in Kansas City, that basically are, I'm functioning, I'm the asset manager, but I'm functioning a lot like the property manager these days. We have a handful of other senior living that is a lot more hands-off, so I'm not too involved in that. We do a lot of multifamily. By the way, multifamily apartments, those are great. The gerontology used for multifamily is very interesting. You're not going to find too many gerontologists doing multifamily, but the study of aging applies to all ages, as everyone here knows. So I've had some very good conversations because of this master's in multifamily. A little bit, this is my family. So my wife Esther is from Sacramento, and our son Abraham, Abe, he will be 8 next month. They just won a soccer game this evening, so everyone's very happy. All right, so the state of senior living today. When I came into this industry, again, is 2017, we had a lot of clients that were individual owners. We had one private equity group, we had a family office, and we had a total of 32 properties. Of that, 2 were multifamily that we were managing. And then it was pretty evenly split between independent living, IL, assisted living, AL, and memory care, MC. Okay, so we didn't have 32 at one time. We ended up, we had a chunk of our portfolio that we kind of subbed out for another chunk. And towards the end, we started purchasing our own properties. So, I think individuals have kind of been getting out of the industry lately, and you're finding more REITs or kind of big, private equity groups coming in. We might even see some insurance companies really coming in more significantly in the near future. I say that because we have it's difficult to operate if you have limited capital. So these bigger groups have more capital. They're able to weather these storms like the pandemic, and it doesn't mean that individuals can't be very successful. But again, this is something I'm going to come back to in a little bit. Senior living is also very slow to adopt new technology. I mean, a couple of years ago, we were still trying to get people off of writing checks, right? So if we have to collect checks instead of doing online bill pay, you can imagine a lot of the other stuff that should be done that wasn't. No secret, the pandemic has sped up the adoption of technology, but there's still a ways to go. If you really want to get into, when you're looking at, analyzing rents, hotels, multifamily, there's artificial intelligence that helps you change your rental rates, by the minute. And there's no way we're doing that, right? We might change it every quarter. Maybe we'll have a random update here or there, but that'll be a little more difficult to adopt. I think, obviously the bigger you are, the more you can afford those types of resources. So labor shortages it was a challenge before the pandemic. It's even worse now. I think I the way that I operate is not a bulletproof way to keep your team, but certainly when I had more teams, I was able to keep them a little bit better than some of the other competitors. Let's see. So I was mentioning there is some consolidation going on right now, and I think the biggest issue here, and this ties back to your labor shortages, is trust, right? If your labor force doesn't trust management, you're not going to keep them very long. People aren't going to be happy. You're not going to be able to promote. So again, coming back to that soon. So where are we going? I think a lot of the operators are going to get bigger. The good ones will get bigger. The ones that aren't so good will leave. But we've learned that you can't get too big, right? Brookdale is the easy example. Even Capital Senior Living and some of these other behemoths, it's tough to get big. So what you'll probably see is a lot of regional powerhouses. So if you are, right now I live in Dallas, Texas, right? My territory, I can handle very easily anything in Texas, Oklahoma, and maybe some surrounding states. I like to limit my travel time to 2 hours. Kansas City, no problem. I jump on Southwest, door to door. Okay, it's closer to 3 and some change, but the flight is less than 2 hours, so I can get some good work done on the airplane too. But if you keep it close, you also build a network in the cities or the areas that you're operating in. And I can't tell you how important the network is. I can't tell you, it's very important. Okay. So more on networks later. So let's see. So I think from a design standpoint, design's always going to change. These days, you're seeing things kind of break up. So you can, if there's an outbreak in one area, you can easily close it off. People still have their own living areas in that pod, we'll call it. And it doesn't disrupt the rest of the residents. So I think we're going to keep seeing that type of infection control, but also, making sure that people can socialize safely. So it's a good direction. I don't think, I think as this passes, if there's no other major pandemics in the next 10 years, 20 years, we might start to forget that again. So at least us influencers in this major today will still remember it and be smart about design in the future. The middle income senior who's looking for a place, that is going to be our biggest challenge. What are we going to do with them? And I think it has to do with active adult. So that's where it's kind of like multifamily, but you happen to be living, mostly with 55 and up. You can still get services that you need, but those services are provided from Medicare. Okay, Medicare totally separate from. You don't even have that in assisted living or memory care. It is separate. So I think, if you can get home health through Medicare and you have, just the active adult, you have the socialization, maybe you have a little bit of food, even if it's one meal a day or not, you still have a safer place for older adults to live than if they're living by themselves. So one key is, hey, you guys are the change makers. You're here. When you're in class, when you're in discussion groups, don't be shy. Challenge each other. Make sure that, if you have an idea, maybe you haven't even thought it all the way out, don't hesitate to bring it up. When you guys can talk amongst ourselves and form ideas, make them more, bring them out in the open more. Who knows when they can get adopted, but at least the discussion is out there. There's a lot of different publications in our industry that focus on us, and a lot of them are also thirsty for new ideas as well. So, network amongst ourselves, network in the industry, and let's keep pushing new ideas, see what works. All right, so there may be some of you who are looking to get into the career if you're not already. I'm going to take a step back, and apologies if this sounds like a lecture, but man, if you guys have financial freedom, you have the freedom to do whatever you want. Okay, so to me, financial freedom means not spending on things that you don't need. If you enjoy your Starbucks in the morning, how much does that cost you? It adds up, right? Hey, but if you're saving and you're still getting your Starbucks, okay, well, enjoy your Starbucks, but make sure you save. I mentioned earlier, I lived with my parents for a couple of years. I saved up. That was a good way to start. I might not be as good these days at saving, but I know that to the extent that you can do it. Here's another. So for one, you can choose what you want to do once you're financially free, but at some point you might like to be an owner, right? I don't know if it's a senior living owner or some other business, but you can control your destiny if you can invest as well. Right now, I have an equity partner. I'm now working with him. If I had been more diligent, maybe I could have just purchased these properties by myself. Okay, so I'm able to participate in them, but I'm not the equity, the sole equity provider. So it doesn't matter what you like to do, where you see yourself going, be diligent, save, and have that nest egg, or I should call it war chest, so that when you are ready to choose, you're ready to go. All right. So entering the industry is very easy. Just do it. That's the Nike swoop. And really where you get your start doesn't matter very much. The key is you're getting experience. Okay, you're already getting a gerontology major or master's. That is awesome. There's a lot of folks in the industry who don't have that. I didn't have that, and I made it pretty far without. Of course, I'm here now because I see the value in it, but point being, get your experience. Even if you want to, be an RN or a speech therapist, hey, if you can put up with caregiving for 6 months, a year, you will know more than me, right? You'll know more than a lot of people. Marketing is something that it's a great, if you want to become, like, let's say an executive director, or if you want to work at corporate, maybe it's a regional director of ops or upper management. Marketing is one of those positions that if you have that skill set, if you can sell and lease, you can go very far, very far. And that's not just for senior living. That goes for everything. I'm not a salesperson, but I've studied sales a lot. I've studied it mostly in this industry, but there's a handful of books I've read even before this, whether it's prospecting or how to talk to people. You can take classes, you can read books. There's a lot of tools. It's a very well-developed space to pick up stuff in. So, hey, we have winter break coming up. If you got nothing else to do, if you're looking for a book to read, I have some book recommendations at the end. Actually, I don't have any sales specific ones, but I do have some that I like that I can recommend. So, finance. So I have an accounting and finance background. I've talked to many others in the industry, other leaders who, one was Larry Cohen, who was the former CEO of Capital Senior Living public company, and he has his CPA too, so he's totally biased. But when we were talking, he liked that I had my accounting degree, and recommended that as one of the top things that you can do for yourself. So I'm not saying you have to get an accounting degree. You don't, but you do have to be familiar with financial statements and budgets. Okay, if you can understand debits and credits, there's no harm in that, none at all. But definitely understand the financial statement, and for that, there's stuff online that you can find on YouTube, or the Khan Academy is a good one as well. And activities, I mean, that's someone like me with my finance degree, who's picked up quite a bit of marketing tips. My focus right now is on activities. And if you start in this industry in activities, to me, senior living is, especially independent living, our service is socialization and activities. That's our biggest kind of value proposition. So if you can nail activities and people are having fun, why would they leave? Then sales and marketing gets a whole lot easier, because now people, that's kind of a backdoor marketing trick there, right? Now all of a sudden you have a ton of content. People are posting all these fun videos, and they're posting fun reviews. So, again, it doesn't matter where you start in senior living, just start. You can rotate positions, but what is your end goal? Where do you want to be in this industry or outside of it? It doesn't. Obviously, if you guys have an interest, then you probably already have a goal. So it doesn't hurt to get experience in any of these, but yeah. All right. So talking more about the career. So really, it doesn't matter if we're talking about this career or any career. If you can outwork people, you'll get promotions, right? I have worked my butt off at everything I've done. And I might not be the smartest person in the room, but I can outwork most people. So, it's still important to balance, the stuff in your life that makes you healthy. For me, I probably haven't slept as much as I should. That's something I'm working on these days. I'm trying to get consistent sleep, and I've been pretty good at getting 7 or more hours most nights. But exercise, eat right, do all the little stuff. When you think about it, if you take a step back here, we're professionals, or soon to be professionals in this industry. And, I do a lot of sports analogies. Kobe Bryant is one I like to pick on quite a bit. Michael Jordan, it doesn't matter. All these guys are top athletes in their sport, and they practice all the time. They have coaches, not just one coach, they have multiple coaches. So do you guys have coaches? Do I have a coach? I'll admit I don't at the moment, but I have in the past. I have mentors, I have people I can, and it's probably something that, if I had to do it over again, there's nothing, I might have gone back and gotten a coach many years ago. So I have been a coach of, athletics before. And so I understand as well what it takes. It's this outside voice who gets to, help you talk through things, share different perspectives. It's a safe place. So don't be shy in having a coach, having a mentor. And that means going back here to, sleep, make sure you work out and eat well. It's all these little things that count is the point. Okay. If you're trying to be a top performer and you eat poorly, you're not going to think straight, and maybe your peer who's up for the promotion too is eating better, getting better sleep, so they might perform better than you, right? I'm not saying this to be competitive with your peers. I'm very much a team player, but at least to get the most out of yourself, you want to give yourself that chance. So be good to yourself. We're all gerontologists here, so we've studied all this stuff, and I probably don't need to say any more about it. I've talked about knowing sales and marketing. Being direct is something that I think is such a great skill, and the people that I see in business who are in the top positions are usually, not always, but usually people who can be direct and not worry about hurting people's feelings. That said, you don't want to hurt people's feelings. There's a way to communicate with them where you don't hurt their feelings. Being candid shows that you care for someone while you're communicating with them, even if it might be tough feedback. So it's different. Being radically candid is different than being brutally honest. So if you can perfect the skill of radical candor, do it. There's a book by Kim Scott. I have it listed at the end here as well. Highly recommend that book for everyone. All right, so another formula I've seen for success, especially keeping employees, is trust. Right? If they trust you, you'll keep them longer. It's pretty simple. And so, how do they trust you? Well, be transparent and follow through with what you say you're going to do. If you say you're going to do something, do it. Right? Excuses happen. Try not to have to use them. Don't overpromise is a way to get around that. Okay, it's something I'm very much an optimist, and I have overpromised in the past, so I've found myself apologizing quite a bit. I've gotten very good at it, unfortunately, but at the same time, at least I'll show responsibility when I mess up, and I've learned just to slow down a little bit on what I'm promising, and I'm more conservative in that. All right. So once you have that trust, just make sure you're excited. I mean, if you're not having fun, that's going to rub off on people. So bring excitement with you. If you have problems, don't just bring the problems, bring solutions. And then finally, lead by example. And I think that goes with working, if you're working hard and you're doing what you say you're going to do, then you're leading by example by doing that. All right. Now, this is one of my favorite all-time videos. It's a minute and a half. So let's see if this works.
Something I want to tell you about the stress.
Can you guys see it okay?
Okay. Oh, we have to look at stress. Okay. And I think it's an important thing because many people have told me from my lectures it's the one thing they remember. Okay. I was sitting in a dentist's office and looked at an article that said, "How do lobsters grow?" What? But I was interested in it. And it points out that a lobster is a soft, mushy animal that lives inside of a rigid shell. That rigid shell does not expand. Well, how can the lobster grow? Well, as the lobster grows, that shell becomes very confining. Right? And the lobster feels itself under pressure and uncomfortable. It goes under a rock formation to protect itself from predatory fish, casts off the shell, and produces a new one. Well, eventually, that shell becomes very uncomfortable as it grows back under the rocks. And the lobster repeats this numerous times. The stimulus for the lobster to be able to grow is that it feels uncomfortable. Right? Now, if lobsters had doctors, they would never grow. Because as soon as the lobster feels uncomfortable, goes to the doctor, gets a Valium, gets a Percocet, feels fine, never comes off its shell. So I think that we have to realize that times of stress are also times that are signals for growth. And if we use adversity properly, we can grow through adversity.
All right. So be comfortable with discomfort. That's something I really learned through sports initially, but man, it permeates throughout everything you do in life. And being comfortable with discomfort is key, right? You know that when you feel uncomfortable, if you have a mindset of, oh, here it comes, I'm uncomfortable, that means I'm going to do something that's going to help me grow. Every single time you'll have a new experience. Maybe you've had this experience 5 times, you're still uncomfortable. You do it 10 times, you're going to be less uncomfortable. The more you do something, the more comfortable it gets. So do things that make you uncomfortable. Being proactive might be one of those. In this case, networking, right? How many people here like to go and meet strangers who maybe you have something in common with, maybe you don't. So I'm going to guess not many people. It's something that I kind of like, but really, it doesn't mean I still don't get uncomfortable. I also know that after I do some kind of networking, that I've either grown my network or I've done nothing, but I have not moved backwards. Right? If I didn't network that day, well, I certainly didn't get ahead. I moved back. When you don't do anything, you're moving backwards, right? Because I should have been somewhere where I could have had a good meeting that would have grown my business. That said, I'm not saying go network every night, every week, but I am saying when there's a good opportunity, when there's going to be good people in the room, take that opportunity, go meet some new people. Don't be, stand out on the wall and wait for people to come to you. Just go up and say hi. It's something that kids do it very well, right? When they don't have all this stuff in their head telling them, don't do it, it's dangerous. You might get a rejection. You might say hi to someone and they might not say hi back. Right? That's fear that we've built up over our lifetime. So if you just get past that, do like a kid, just walk up to someone, introduce yourself. Easy, right? Maybe not easy right at first. You do it, gets easier and easier. So sorry, this lobster is distracting. So these are the book recommendations I have for you guys. And they're each a little different, but they're my favorite. So Compound Effect, I'll warn you, Darren Hardy is, he does sell stuff, but man, this book is good. He's got a daily video every morning. He sends something. Those are free, but if you're listening, he'll eventually sell you stuff. So fair warning. Ray Dalio, he is the founder of Bridgewater, which is one of the top hedge funds. And this culture that he has was awesome. Like they believe radical transparency, and man, you can have a conversation with a peer about another coworker, and it's all recorded. After you have that conversation, you should go to your coworker and be like, "Hey, Bob, we were just talking about you. Go check the tape." So pretty insane, but great book. Probably half of it is a little more finance related, but when he talks about the principles, big fan of that. And then I've mentioned radical candor. So I think all of these can help you grow your careers, and so I pass them on to you. All right, so we are at game start time right now. This is my contact information. I like LinkedIn. Please don't be shy if you guys are on LinkedIn. Connect with me. If you're not on LinkedIn, but you want to work in business, in industry, go ahead and get on and start networking. So we have a little time for questions.
Yeah, any questions? Just feel free
I'll be
to
first one.
yell. Oh, sure. Go ahead.
Okay, so Mark, you mentioned about the shortage of labor earlier. And we all know that caregivers in facilities today still are like about $15 an hour or less. And even McDonald's employees are like 17 an hour. So that's why people are kept leaving. So I'm just wondering, how did you deal with this kind of issue in the past, and what's going to be your solution today?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I never had this issue pre-pandemic, right? And I was still with Wind River when, up and through, so from March to July, and we were able to keep most of our employees. We did not do hazard pay because we didn't have COVID in our buildings until one finally did. And so we gave, little bonuses there. We were, instead of just giving away wage, which by the way, for the record, like 100% caregivers deserve all these new wages and more. It's not something that I would like to do. It's not a fun job. It can be very rewarding. It's not a strength of mine to do that. So what I like is to support those people, right? What can I do to help make their lives easier? So we were doing things like buying them groceries, especially if we have food, if we're already, cooking at the community. And we were already, there were distribution issues. You can't get everything at the grocery store, but we were able to get it from our distributor. So we would buy stuff and then send it home with employees. We would just try to do things that was still meaningful to our employees at the time without giving extra wage. So what happens is, if you give bonuses, that's something that's temporary. It shows appreciation monetarily, but you still long-term kind of protect your margins. And if you when you increase wage, there's no going back, right? So now all of a sudden, if there's a transaction, right? Hey, I'm in private equity, so I have to think like this. I have to balance the thinking, right? It's not 100% about income and profit. It's balancing that so that there's a win-win situation. So when you have, but once you have the higher salaries, your margins shrink, your net operating income shrinks. So now the value of the community shrinks. So it is what it is. Can you get it back through charging more rent? I think what may happen is we can charge a little more rent that helps pay for the higher wages. But now everyone, in 5 years from now, everyone will be in the same boat, right? Now you're getting paid by inflation, and so margins have fallen back into historical norms. And so the caregiver salary still goes as far as it did before. So it's a nice little bump. I hope right now people are able to save while they got it. If they're used to making 13 or 14 and now they're making 15 or 17, save that for a rainy day. I know it's tough. Did I answer the question?
Yeah, thank you.
And we have a question in the chatting box from Alison. She asked, how do you balance work and school together? Do you have any time management strategies you could share?
Yeah, it's a little easier these days. My first semester, I wasn't working nearly as much, so I was able to take 3 classes and then 2. So this semester I only have 1, and then next semester I have 1. I know, Allison, we're in the same Cornell course right now, and we just went through the ringer these last 2 weeks with 2 classes at the same time. So I did not have a weekend, and that was tough. So yeah, what I'd say there is eliminate everything that doesn't add value, right? Because you need your sleep. So for me, I'll still sacrifice some sleep. But do you watch TV? Do you watch news? Are you social media? This stuff distracts, and especially if you're doing it during the day. But right now, I just need to squeeze every 5-10 minute increment as I can. So I'm not on Facebook unless I have to look at a community's webpage. I'm not posting stuff. LinkedIn adds value, so I do spend a little time on LinkedIn. I'd say my biggest vice is checking news on my phone. So I've tried to not do it. It's just too easy. So yeah, right now I am working definitely over 40 hours a week, probably over 50. And I'm taking, one class in eCornell. So I'm not doing too much else. Although I will still take my son to soccer practice and soccer games.
Thank you, Mark. Yeah, it's been really hard with the 2 classes at once. I agree. So I was just wondering how in the world you could balance that on top of full-time work. It just sounds like so much. So
yeah, last weekend wasn't very fun.
yeah, I agree. All right, thank you.
Thanks.
So any other questions?
Yeah, I have one question. Hi, I wonder how is your experience in food industry benefit your work in senior living? How these two connect each other?
That's a great question. I'd say, accounting just helps with any industry, but every industry is a little different. So that was a skill that's easily transportable, and then catching up on the senior versus multifamily wasn't a big stretch. But one thing that I've realized after I got into senior was a lot of the stuff where I got my most positive energy was community building. I was a controller at a restaurant franchising company, and that was kind of boring. Got the books cleaned, and I didn't get to do a whole lot proactively. It was more, this is what happened in operations, so here are the numbers. So I ended up running our test kitchen. I was the GM of the test kitchen. And so that was my first, no, not my first. It was another foray into marketing, guerrilla marketing specifically. And so there's a lot of stuff that I did there and with the Tri Club that I was able to bring into senior living, both on the community side, forming relationships with our customers, and guerrilla marketing. So, anytime you have experience outside the industry and you come in, you're going to think of things a little bit different than others. And I think that's a welcome addition. So yeah, hope that helps.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Muyang. And I saw another question in the chatting box from Emily. As you look forward, how do you see technology impacting assisted living and memory care settings? Also, in which area of your operations would you like to see true disruptions of this status quo?
All right, so for AL and memory care, there's fall prevention software out there. For AL, the one I'm most familiar with is Care Predict. It's a wearable. It'll even open doors for you. It can track your employees so you know where people are, it can track your guests, but it gets ahead of falls. because it's got the what's it called, the in the watch that knows what you're doing, right? And so that is good for AL, but for memory care, I don't think that works very well because you'll see something on your wrist and just want to take it off. So Safely You is one that I like a lot for memory care. Those are cameras. You can see what's going on. Now you might have a fall before that takes place, but a lot of falls are not serious. So you can get ahead of the more serious falls because you see what happened. You do the training, and they've seen some really great results off those softwares. That said, I've also talked to folks who have implemented some of those, and you still can't, like, if you have them, you have to use them. It's not enough to just have them, say you have them, and not really use them. And you can't give up the fundamentals of really knowing your residents and being proactive from what you see. So make sure you do your assessments, and your caregivers and RNs and LPNs, they know them best, and you should just be proactive in all that. So disruption, yeah, I think the disruption is going to come when we have labor again. Maybe, to me, I think the easiest solution is to open up our borders again. The country, we're built on immigrants, and there's a lot of people who want to come and work. Right now, we don't have enough people who want to, so we should bring people who want to. I think that's a good disruption, because now there will be better care outcomes because we have more people who can do it. So, if it's more on technological side, I've seen some robots who can deliver food and stuff. I don't think that's a disruption. I think that's something that can help our existing staff, but doesn't necessarily replace them. If you have someone who doesn't show up, the staff who did show up will certainly appreciate having someone who can help carry stuff. But I think to really, if we go into robotics, that we're just, we're pretty far away from having something that can replace a human. So I don't know. We'll see where that goes.
Okay, thank you, Emily, and thank you, Mark. Are there any last questions?
All right, well, if you guys do have anything that pops up, again, here's my contact info. Don't hesitate to reach out, and wish you guys all luck in the rest of the semester.
Thank you so much, Mark, and thank you for your time and efforts to making this great speech. And thank you all of our audience. Have a good dinner and good night.
Everyone.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Mark.
Mark.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Thanks, Mark.